This is CNN Breaking News.
And good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, breaking news. President Trump firing FBI Director James Comey. The bombshell announcement, something that was completely unexpected to anyone, came just moments ago. Trump, in the letter, hand-delivered by a bodyguard he's had for decades, wrote to Comey that he is, quote, terminated and removed from office effective immediately. And the letter goes on to say, quote, this is Trump, while I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation, I nevertheless concur with the Department of Justice. You are not able to effectively lead the Bureau. This is a stunning development. It is lost on no one that the president just fired the man who is leading an investigation into the Trump campaign and whether it colluded with Russians in rigging the U.S. presidential election. Jeff Zeleny is out front at the White House beginning our breaking coverage of this stunning development. And Jeff, nobody seemed to have any idea that this was coming.
Indeed, Erin, this was a very closely kept secret here at the White House. I am told only a handful of top advisors knew this was coming, but I am told just moments ago that the president himself has been considering this, been thinking about this for at least a week. Did not necessarily have the rationale when they first started talking about this, but then asked the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General to look for that rationale and that explanation. And that is what we got this afternoon. But the timing of this, of course, so interesting, Aaron, because the Russian investigation front and center. It is one of the things that aggravates this president more than anything at all. And as you were just reading in that short letter right there, I have a copy of it right here. It's just about 5 paragraphs long, by the president saying that he was essentially vindicated by this Russia investigation, saying he was not a target of this investigation. He is trying to sort of, essentially set the record straight or close the books on this here, Aaron. But that is something that will definitely not happen. The books on this will remain wide open, regardless of who heads the FBI. This is going to keep this story alive, if nothing else, for some time to come. Interestingly, this news was delivered over to the FBI by, an old-fashioned way. The director of Oval Office Operations, a top aide to this president, went over to the FBI this afternoon to hand-deliver this. One problem with that, the FBI director himself is on the West Coast this week, on California. So he found out about that at some point afterward. But no one in the Justice Department was expecting this. The phone calls went out around 5:30 this evening Eastern Time, and the news broke shortly after that. Aaron, I am told the president does not expect to address this anymore this evening. The White House is not answering anything else this evening. He may talk about it tomorrow. But so unusual, such a major moment, not addressing the nation on an issue like this.
Not addressing the nation on something so important with such a crucial investigation. Let me just ask you, Jeff, Sean Spicer, the press secretary, was asked today directly, does the president still have confidence, full confidence in FBI Director James Comey? He responds, I have not asked the president since the last time we spoke. I have no reason to believe. So did he not know? Was he just being coy? Do we know?
It's unclear. I do not know if he knew, but as I was saying earlier, it was very closely held by a very small group of individuals. I'm not sure if Sean Spicer knew about this. That's often the way it goes. The press secretary is not informed about these things, so they do not have to sort of lie or, not answer honestly, I guess, if you will, here. But Sean Spicer's been asked a similar question in recent weeks. He answers it basically the same. But today, certainly, his answer rang differently, because a few hours after that briefing, James Comey was out. And it was announced not in a statement. Sean Spicer came out to the press room in essentially the doorway of the press room and read it. He just simply announced it. It was a very odd way to make such a bombshell announcement.
Right.
Aaron.
And it was a bombshell. There was nothing in there about accepting the resignation, so everyone knows, right? Those aren't the words at all.
Fired.
It was he has terminated and removed from office, not I have accepted the resignation of the FBI director.
Right.
I mean, this is a loud statement and a shocking statement. Thank you so much. Jeff Zeleny is going to stay with us through the hour, of course, as the news continues to break here on what exactly happened in the shocking move. I want to go to Pamela Brown, our justice correspondent. And Pamela, as we point out, it was Keith Schiller, a long time, a personal bodyguard, head of operations now at the White House, that walked over personally to deliver this to the FBI. The FBI director was not there. Obviously, this was shocking. What is the reaction in the FBI at this moment?
It is a shocking turn of events that really has taken even the most senior people at the FBI by total surprise, Aaron. I've spoken to several FBI agents about this tonight. I'm told by one says it feels like we've lost a family member. Another agent I spoke to said it's shocking and upsetting for a lot of the rank and file. And even a lot of people in the FBI don't even know yet. This came as a surprise. Senior staff at the FBI was notified just a short time ago, and they're having an emergency meeting tonight. And what's interesting here is, you talk to some people and they say they're shocked, but at the same time, they're not surprised in a way because of the fact that James Comey has really been at the center of controversy over his handling of the Hillary Clinton investigation, as well as the Trump campaign associates and Russia investigation. And there was consternation within the FBI, internal conflict. But what people are asking tonight, Aaron, is why now? They're surprised that this is happening now because they're really, some of the main controversies have happened in the past. In fact, what Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, who was the one that apparently recommended Comey's firing, what he cites is Comey's handling of the Clinton investigation in the press conference back in 2016. So a lot of unanswered questions tonight in the FBI and just a lot of shock all around, Aaron.
And Pamela, let me just ask you, in the letter to Director Comey from the President of the United States, he says, I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation. Do we know that to be true?
We don't know that to be true. We've been calling, of course, the FBI press office and others to try to figure out what exactly the president meant by that, because, of course, the FBI and the White House is not supposed to be talking about an investigation that would have to do with the president's associates. So we don't have the answer to that yet. All
right, Pamela, thank you very much. And the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, joins me now. And, Senator, I appreciate your time. Were you shocked? How did you find out?
Shocked would be a gross understatement. I mean, didn't see this coming. It's obviously outrageous. We now have got a president who's fired the acting attorney general, virtually all the U.S. attorneys, the FBI director. He's had his U.S. attorney have to recuse himself from the Russia investigations. We had the NSA director have to resign because of contacts with Russians. This is an administration who says there's no there in terms of our investigation. But boy, oh boy, it says there is so much smoke here, and we'll still have to determine how big the fire is.
So, Senator Leahy just came out and said this is nothing less than Nixonian, of course, referring to Nixon's firing of those investigating him on a Saturday night. Do you think that that's what this is, that the president is firing Jim Comey because he is the one leading the investigation into Russia ties with the Trump administration?
We met with Director Comey, the Intel Committee leadership did as recently as yesterday. We were going to have the FBI director in a closed hearing on Thursday. I had a lot of faith, have a lot of faith in Jim Comey. I still want him to come and testify, even as former FBI director. But it sure seems awfully curious that this president would choose now, the day after Ms. Yates testified, with us starting to pick up our pace a bit on our investigation, to fire the FBI director.
Would you say it's Nixonian? Would you use that word?
I would say that what happened during the Nixon period, there were people of principle who stood up against some of then-President Nixon's actions. I'm hoping in the coming days that we'll see either out of the administration and frankly from a lot of my colleagues a willingness to rise above partisanship, because this is so much more important than just this president. It's really about the whole rule of law in our country.
The president said in his letter to the FBI director, I greatly appreciate you informing me on 3 separate occasions that I am not under investigation. Do you know that to be true, that the President of the United States is not under personal investigation right now?
I can't confirm or deny that. I can tell you that the FBI Director Comey indicated there were ongoing investigations into folks affiliated with the Trump campaign or organization and the Russians. I know that we have got a lot of interviews that are scheduled and to be scheduled that will try to answer these questions.
So no change in your investigation. It's on track. You're not changing it or going for a special prosecutor?
Aaron, I believe that we need a special counsel or special prosecutor at this point. Okay. I have zero faith in the Deputy Attorney General, and more than ever, this investigation we've got to get done.
All right, Senator, I don't know if you can stay with me. I hope you can. I just want to listen to Senator Schumer, Minority Leader, speaking right now from the Senate.
Why now? If the administration had objections to the way Director Comey handled the Clinton investigation, they had those objections the minute the president got into office. But they didn't fire him then. Why did it happen today. We know the House is investigating Russian interference in our elections that benefited the Trump campaign. We know the Senate is investigating. We know the FBI has been looking into whether the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians, a very serious offense. Were these investigations getting too close to home for the president? It is troubling that Attorney General Sessions, who had recused himself from the Russian investigation, played a role in firing the man leading it. So what happens now? Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein sat in the Judiciary Committee and promised to appoint a special prosecutor at the appropriate time. That time is right now. The American people's trust in our criminal justice system is in Rosenstein's hands. Mr. Rosenstein, America depends on you to restore faith in our criminal justice system, which is going to be badly shattered after the administration's actions today. This is part of a deeply troubling pattern from the Trump administration. They fired Sally Yates. They fired Preet Bharara. And now they fired Director Comey, the very man leading the investigation. This does not seem to be a coincidence. This investigation must be run as far away as possible from this White House and as far away as possible from anyone that President Trump has appointed. Given the way the president fired Director Comey, any person who he appoints to lead the Russia investigation will be concerned that he or she will meet the same fate as Director Comey if they run afoul of the administration. The American people need to have faith that an investigation as serious as this one is being conducted impartially, without a shred of bias. The only way the American people can have faith in this investigation is for it to be led by a fearless, independent special prosecutor. If Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein does not appoint an independent special prosecutor, every American will rightly suspect that the decision to fire Director Comey was part of a cover-up. I'll take one or two questions.
Are you suggesting that this was a part of a cover-up, and did you convey to President Trump that he should appoint, that a special prosecutor should be appointed, and what was his reaction to your response?
I simply said to him, Mr. President, in all due respect, you're making a very big mistake, and he didn't really answer. And I have said from the get-go that I think a special prosecutor is the way to go. But now, with what's happened, it is the only way to go to restore the American people's faith. Are people going to suspect cover-up? Absolutely. If an independent special prosecutor is appointed, there still can be some faith that we can get to the bottom of this. If not, everyone will suspect cover-up.
But are you suggesting?
Yes.
Senator Schumer, you told me last year before the election that you had lost confidence in Jim Comey because of how he handled the email scandal. Do you think that the president's explanation that this is the reason why he's firing him now has credibility with you? Do you believe that?
Okay.
Or do you think that he's firing him for another reason?
I never called on the president to fire Director Comey. I had a lot of questions about how he handled himself. But the overwhelming question is this. If the administration had those same questions, the events occurred months ago, and they should have fired Comey on the day they came into office. All of them occurred before he came into office. So that does not seem to me to be a very logical or persuasive explanation. Thank you, everybody.
And that was the Senate Minority Leader. Chuck Schumer speaking, as you heard, calling for a special prosecutor, saying this nation needs proof that there was not a cover-up, and saying that he spoke to the president and told him he was making a big mistake when President Trump called him today to tell him about this decision. Our special panel is with me right now for this breaking news. Former FBI Assistant Director Tom Fuentes joins me, former Senior Communications Advisor for the Trump campaign Jason Miller joins me. I'm sorry, former Senior Advisor, Communications Director for President Obama, Dan Pfeiffer, Gloria Borger, Mark Preston, and Senior Legal Analyst Jeffrey Toobin. Jeff, let me start with you. Sorry, obviously I have something in my throat, but you are now hearing a uniform answer from Democrats, but it is not just Democrats. You have Lindsey Graham, you have John McCain, you have Republicans all coming out questioning